Hi, I'm Scott, and in this video, I'm going to talk about mutual preference judging, commonly known as Prefs. So first, what is mutual preference judging, or mutually preferred judging, or MPJ, or Prefs, or whatever you want to call it? What is mutual preference judging? The basic conception behind it is you should, as a debater or as a coach, determine who is judging the debates that you are debating or coaching for. The general idea behind this is, in some way, shape, or fashion, you should get to rank the judges in the judging field. So in order to kind of get what this means, let's kind of break this down from a base level. So let's say you go to a tournament that does not have mutual preference judging. It's a tournament where you show up and you can get anybody who's there, anybody at the tournament can judge you as long as they're not a conflict. A conflict is somebody who is biased against voting for or against you. In a lot of instances, conflicts are alumni who have went to your same school, your coach, people like that who are conflicted from judging you. So though at those types of tournaments, anybody who's not those conflicts can judge you. So random dice roll, literally anybody in the judging field who the computer randomly decides to spit out can judge the debate that you are about to debate in. Now the step up from that would be what PF tournaments were really commonly doing about 5 years ago, which was where you got strikes only. So let's say you would go to a tournament that had 200 judges in it. You would be allowed as a competitor to say, these 5 judges, these 10 judges, I don't want you. There's no circumstances upon which you can judge me. That is what is known as a strike. So there are some tournaments that have a system where you just might be allowed to say, hey, out of all these judges, I'm only allowed to strike these certain amounts of people. Now the step up from that is MPJ, or mutual preference judging, or mutually preferred judging, or Prefs. There are 2 basic ways or 2 basic systems upon which you can do preferences. But before I get into that, the idea of mutuality is important. So for both systems, the idea is going to be that if the judge in the back of the room is your 100th ranked judge, you should not have that judge in a debate against somebody who also ranks that judge as 25th. It should be against somebody who also ranks it as 100, because you should have mutuality in the judges that judge your debates. So there's 2 systems or 2 approaches to achieve mutuality. The first approach is the sort of OG, the original system, the one that came about first, at least to my knowledge, which is the 6 to 9 tier system. Basically, the idea behind this is there's 6 different categories that you get to rank judges in: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and strike. So basically, if we have 60 judges in a judging field in a 6-tier system, you might have to put 10 judges in each of those category, with 1 being the judges you want the most in the debate, and strike being that same sort of idea where you are not allowed to judge me under any instance whatsoever. So that is the 6 to 9 tier system. Now, some tournaments might make you do more 1s and 2s, and I'm going to show you in a second what this actually looks like on Tabroom, the software website that you use to input your mutual preference judging. But that is the first system to how this looks like. And again, it would be mutual, so if you rank somebody as 1, you are going to get somebody who your opponent also ranked as 1. If there aren't 2 1s, you'll then get 2 2s. You won't get a 1 and a 2 because that's not mutual between the 2 teams. You would prefer mutuality to happen in those debates. The second way, and the newer way that a lot of tournaments are doing now, is called Ordinal Rankings. And the idea behind this is, instead of categorizing judges, let's rank every single one from best to worst, in your opinion. So when you do your judge preferences, you will get a list of all 100 judges in the judging field, and you get to rank each individual judge 1 through 100. So you might see Scott Brown's name come up, and you're like 48, because that's what you think I am in your mutual preference judging under Ordinal Prefs. That's fine. In a debate that you would get me, your opponent would also rank me in a very similar 48-ish manner in their ordinal preferences. An interesting thing to note before I get into mutual preference judging is, or what it actually looks like on tabroom, is there's different philosophies for different coaches and different debaters for how this works. So, I've been on teams where in college the debaters weren't allowed to do their preferences, and that was only a coach's thing, and the debaters didn't really have much input. And I've also been in situations where freshmen and sophomores in high school are doing their own preferences, and the coach wants it to be done that way. So a lot of this is based upon different coaching philosophies for, maybe for your team, you might not even have access to this, but this is an important thing that you need to know about, because the caveat to that is that if you don't fill out your preferences, everybody is going to be ranked as a number 1. So you might have people who you don't want, but if you don't fill it out, you are literally going to get them in every instance. Or you're going to get everybody else's number 1s. So let's get over to what this actually looks like. So if I go over to Tabroom, so tabroom.com is the website that a large majority of debate tournaments happen on in 2022, and this is the system that I am most familiar with for doing MPJ or putting in your mutual preference judging. So in order to do this, you're going to need to be actively registered for a tournament that does mutually preferred judging. And the way that you access this is by clicking your email or your username in the top right hand corner. So if I click this for me, you'll see different institutions that I'm a part of, different tournaments that I'm registered for, all sorts of things like that. Now, what you're seeing right here is like admin access for an institution. It's very likely that if you're a debater, your coach is not going to give you access to like all of the like financial information, all of that type of stuff that's in the background. You might only see a different screen. Now, if you see this screen right here, in order to get to preferences, you're going to click this, and a screen is going to come up. I can't show you that screen in this video because I don't have a way of not doxing my personal cell phone if I click that. So I have a separate window pulled up for that way. But if you have limited access, you're going to come over to the institutions tab over here, or maybe it just pops up like this because I'm a part of multiple institutions. But let's say I'm a debater. It's very likely that your screen is going to look like this instead and not going to have all of those options. And you're only going to have the option to enter prefs. So that is where you would go to enter prefs. Now, if you're not doing it that way, it's going to bring up if I were to go back and I were to click on the tournament, so if I were to go back and to click on the actual tournament that I'm going to go to, like let's say I was going to go to this James Logan tournament, if I click on that tournament, it's going to bring up an access menu that looks like this. On the access bar, there's going to be, if the preferences are open, a thing that says Prefs. That is the second way that you can access your preferences or to input your judge preferences. So if I click that, it's going to bring up the preferences for the tournament. Now, the first thing that you need to note, if you are in a big school, you might have different teams and different events. So if you have policy debaters, LD debaters, etc., you might have access to everybody's. I don't know how your coach has this set up. Some coaches are really strict on admin privileges. Some don't really even know they exist. Make sure you find the right event and don't mess up your teammates or someone else's preferences and hard work that they've put in. Once you do that and you find the right event, you can click your name. So let's say if I'm Dana, I would click my name, and this is what your preference input would look like in a 6-tier system. So again, I can rank a judge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 6 being a strike. And when I do that, it's going to input on the top right-hand corner here. It's going to change that. So remember when I said you might have to input a certain number for each event. So for this tournament, for 113 judges, I have to put in a minimum of 22 judges at the tier 1 ranking. So right now, the tournament has put every judge at number 1, so I have 113 tier 1 judges. But let's say I want to put the first judge as a rating 2, it's going to automatically switch that so that now you have somebody in tier 2. So the idea here is that at the end of your preferences, you are finished when all of your preferences meet each category criteria. So for instance, at this tournament that we are going to this weekend, you can only have 12 strikes. So, you might not like 20 judges in the field. Oh well, you only have 20 strikes that you can deal with or that you have available to you in the debate. And then you would go through every judge here and you would rank each individual judge. There's also a way to input your conflicts on the right-hand side here. For some reason right now, it's not coming up on this account, but if you don't have your conflicts entered properly, you can also do it from the sidebar there. When you have ordinal preferences, so this is the 6 to 9 tier system. Difference between the 9 tier system would just, there would be more boxes for you to be able to check, normally for bigger tournaments that have a lot more judges. The ordinal system would just make you input a number 1 through 10 or 1 through 100 or however many judges are there. There's some intricacies behind that to how that works, but if you are getting there and you're sufficient with that, that's probably way outside the scope of this video. So hopefully this is a pretty good introduction to how mutual preference judging works, how you input the judges in tabroom, and kind of what the ideology to the different systems to mutually preferred judging are. So if you found this video helpful, that's great. Hopefully you'll stay tuned for more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.